Hey everybody. Where are we at? It's been a little bit. I know I took the weekend off. I usually do stream on the weekend. But I thought I would just take some time off. I also did a few things with some family, and I just got overall busy. By the way, my YouTube chat for some reason is not showing up, so hopefully that gets resolved sometime. We'll see. I don't know. Hopefully it gets resolved. But yeah, I've been working on my point task application, and so I'm going to continue working on that and see where we go from there. So there's a few things that I need to fix. If I go to manage tasks, there is a task there. So this message, first of all, is a little misleading, but and I also need to review some code. So let's start by reviewing some of the code changes, which I really need to do. So on this create session, so on this one, I'm not entirely sure why AI decided to create a lightweight session creation, given that this does return immediately the e tag. So there's really no need for a lightweight create session. So let's look at the session API and fix that. So here we go. So we have the create session, and then we have the lightweight create session, which is kind of dumb to do. The only thing I would say is looks like we have start time, end time. So we don't have end time on this one. So I would add the optional end time. If it contains an end time, to go ahead and add the end time. So we have an end time duration in seconds and task ID. Why do we not have, oh yeah, we do have task ID there. Okay, so we want to basically copy this all the way down to here and paste it in here. And then there's no point in doing this. We should just do an and get rid of the ternary secondary condition. And the same thing for this one. Just use double and. Clean up that. And then the same thing here. Double ampersand. And get rid of this. Okay, that cleans up that piece of code. And then this, we need to figure out where it's being used, because we don't need that. So here, we just need create session. To use add session, and then the sessions API. So we need to look at the use add section. We don't really need this add lightweight session. Use add session. Okay. I see the difference because add session uses a session item, and then the add lightweight uses the insert type. Add lightweight session options. So we need to get rid of these two calls, which is this one and this one. Delete that. And then we're going to delete these. And we're going to get rid of these two as well. Clean up the mess AI made for us. And we're going to delete this. This is why it's important to do code review on anything that AI writes. And then we can get rid of the lightweight create. Why is it? I know this is going to create some errors. Let's find out where those errors are. So we have an error in the welcome card. Use session manager has 2 of them. So let's go open use session manager. And here, use add, use that session. And then add session options. Add session. And in the new session, we really need to change. Well, what would happen if we change this here? Yeah, that's all we have to do. Did that generate, oops, did that generate more errors? So it looks like we have an error in the welcome card. Let's go look and see what's going on. Why are we using this here? Created session, start break. Oh, okay. I see why we're using this, but this shouldn't be done this way. This is a problem. So this, we need to have the mutator in here. So where's our, we need to get our use session hook in here, and then we can use our mutation for that. So, oh, here it is. It's already here. Why? This is so messy. All right, let's fix it. To await, it should say here mutate sessions. And then in the parentheses, need to bring in the use add session. Is it in here? No, it's not. All right. And we're gonna need the add session and add session options. Now, start break session. What does this start break session do? That's the Webpart store. Let's go look at that, what that does. Start break session. So that's in here. So this one does the persistence. Actually, how do we? Suppose we could use the API, but the only problem with that is that our sessions hook wouldn't be up to date. But do we really need it to be up to date? That's what the big question is here, that we don't know. I don't think it's needed, only because the session is part of a different menu. So we look at the code. Let's undo some of this. We can bring it back to working state. So this one would be create session. Where is it? Okay. Here it is. And then we're going to get rid of the lightweight. Did we get rid of it already? Yep. So new break session is missing something. ID. So let's just give it ID 0. It doesn't exist in the insert type, so why is it? That's a little weird because let's do this. Okay, that gets rid of those errors. Any other errors? No errors. Okay. So the reason I was saying that it doesn't really matter if we update is because this, if we inspect the page and we look at network, when I go to sessions, which is really where I want to see all the sessions, if we observe the calls, you can see that it has its own independent hook where it retrieves the data. So it doesn't really, it bears no relevance whether when we create a session in the midst of working, whether or not that hook is retrieving that piece of data or not. I guess it doesn't matter. Okay. I am curious though, in terms of lightweight. Yeah, so we should only have lightweight for updating, not for creation. So we're good there. Let's keep on doing code review. It's correct. Okay, persist this session. Recovery. The only other thing that I've been noticing is, where is use session manager used at? Log point layout, that's the problem. The reason this is a problem is, say hypothetically I am testing the brakes and look at what happens when I look right. You can see it counting down, but the moment I press escape, it freezes and then it goes back. And the reason it does that is because if we look at the component tree, so here it's log point layout, which, as you can see, session manager is used in log point layout. The very moment I press escape, log point layout dismounts and it freezes this timer, and that's a problem. You see log point layout now is back and my timer resumes. So then I don't like the way I'm gonna have to handle this, because I think the way we're gonna have to handle this is we're gonna have to go back to default layout and use session here, because use session here encompasses the log point panel and the site panel. So God, I don't like this keyboard sometimes. So what that means is that, so let's say in the event that I press escape here, log point layout is gone, I'm still within side panel. So if it's in default layout, which is this, regardless if it's side panel or lock point panel, for that matter, it'll stay intact. The problem that will happen with that is that I have to do tons of prop drilling, and that's something I don't like. The alternative would be to use this use session manager on both. Meaning I'll just use the hook twice. Once on side panel, but then I run into the issue that side panel stayed open. Even though lock point panel is now open, you can still see side panel in the component tree. Let's get Claude involved in here. We're gonna plan. We're gonna look at the lock point panel and the side panel. Layout, lock point panel, and we need to use session manager. And in the session manager, question becomes, where do we need? We also need this. The create store and so if we look at log point layout, here's what I was referring to use the same hook twice. Only because you notice that we use the hook use today progress here. And I believe we used it as well in here. Not in here, but in here in side panel layout. I think we use it there. Lock point layout and task home, which task home is part of content area, which is rendered here. And if we go to task home here, you can see it used here as well. Man, what am I doing wrong that I like with this keyboard? It's just, I'm doing alt tab and it's just like just the tab. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. When I'm working on a task and the lock point layout is closed, I notice that the picture timer is, and I always feel it. Please, I think like that. Picture timer freezes. I notice jeez. Where was it used? It was used in task home and inside lock point layout. View relevant files. Asking you relevant questions, clarifying questions if there are any. But what else are we gonna need? I think that's all we would need so we can plan. Let's see. So anyway, so like I was saying, what's happening is when I press escape, or say first is I'm working and I want to manage my tasks. Let's say I want to press escape and come back to the Kanban board, add a couple of tasks. You can see my timer is frozen, and that was like 10 seconds that I took away. And now I don't want that to occur. I don't want that to happen. Based on your content provided, the list of files should cover the core issue. However, it would also help to see the use today progress back hook itself. Okay. So use today progress. Am I missing something? Oh. It's not typing anything. I don't get it. Okay, so it needs to use today progress. And for some reason, my chat on YouTube, the chat on YouTube is not working. I don't know if there's an issue with YouTube right now. Should 11 seconds be excluded from the Webpart source open? It's volatile. Vocabulary recording, yes. Let me read this plan again. Your session manager owns a lamp seconds state plus set interval. When lamp panel planner closes, lamp panel layout non-mounts, the hook is disposed, the interval is cleared, and the timer freezes. Use today progress avoids this by being stateless. It reads this to be a shared cache, so any component can call it independently. Go. Okay, that makes sense. Make using same manager same way by moving your lamp seconds to a Webpart store and interval into default layout. Okay, and then set up seconds. New hook. I'm not a fan of use effect, because it's looking like it wants to add yet another use effect to default layout. And if we look at the default layout, do we already have? Use effects in here. Yep, we do. Unmount restoring your recoverable session from the block. sure that's there, so I'll get rid of that. This is needed. This is a requirement. I don't like to understand a little bit more on the store. Here in the store, the break, we are having the duration in seconds, and this is saying to bring into the store the elapsed seconds. So why would we need elapsed seconds if we have the start time? Wouldn't we be able to determine the elapsed seconds based on date time now from the start time? But I mean, it is asking me that. Should elapsed seconds be excluded? Not sure. had to put these keys. I don't know if you noticed my keyboard. One of my biggest complaints about this keyboard is I can't ever find where I have to put my, like, place my hands to type again. And so this way I don't have to look at my keyboard. I can just feel with these two keys. You didn't even answer my question. Should 11 seconds be excluded from the Webpart store local persistence? It makes no sense. Like, it literally just ignored my comment. This is, oh, there it is. Never mind, it did. Good, I see exactly. No meaningful impact at math floor date now. Divided by 1,000 single hours to take up. Microseconds and most is exactly how current recovery effect already works. Plan already uses that pattern start time. Then why are you asking me the question again? Why is it still an unresolved question? Everything checked in, I believe. Mode. Okay. Now we can do this. And we'll have to review that code as well. Make sure that I did it correctly. See, this is what bothers me. It literally, we discussed this and it still kept that when we literally discussed it, there was not something that was needed. And now we have a use state. Wait, did it use the same use state that we did before? Oh, I did use the use. No, that's fine. it's using an old use state, and it's only using it for when it mounts. I'm just worried about these things because I feel like use effects, I don't really like to use them because it causes re-rendering, and I'm trying to avoid that at all costs. We have an error in the use session manager. Use session manager. Get rid of this. All right, errors are gone. And obviously we've gone over the time for 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm curious though. I press escape. Timer's still going. Okay, good. I go back. I go on break. Oh, this arrow again. Oh. So this error is annoying because obviously I have to. I shouldn't have to close and reopen that like that. I thought this was fixed already. I think what happened is this removed the update PIP. Let's go look at that real quick. This update PIP obviously was used right here. Where was this used? So right here in the use session manager. What is next? So it killed one bug, but created another bug. Because what I had said before was that, ooh, what is going on now? Look at that. What the heck? That is weird. And it's still happening. Gosh. If I run here, it's dash. Let's go back. Yeah. That was the issue. Because the issue is that on the the PIP, it's not using the use update part of the hook to update the value. That's why it's like fluctuating between what it originally started with, and it's having that like little heartbeat kind of look and feel to it, because it constantly is updating that value. Because I can just run git dash out. And now our error is back. You can see it. And that is because the first time that it ran the cache, it cached at closer to the 5 minutes. And there's two pieces of data that are conflicting. When it originally started and the new start time. And obviously that is a problem. Obviously we won't have that problem here. We only have that problem in the breaks. Let's go look at what other things it broke. Oh, that's another thing. The reality is that it only needs to update the elapsed seconds and track the elapsed seconds for the break as well. And I should fix it. So let's ask it to do that. One observation. And on break, and the recovery occurs. Through 49 through 59. What was it? It was in the use session manager. Let's see what that comes back with. So right here, this set PIP reopen state. We need to have that same scenario play out for the persisted get persisted break. And that should fix it. I think that should fix the problem. Hopefully. Now I know this is working. Jeez. Correct. So it only checks. Yep. So the fix is what? The fix is a single guarding use timer interval. Use timer interval. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so this should work fine. Let's go on break. And then when I refresh it, picture in picture, it's still working good. Okay. Neat. So it wasn't this. It was saying on the time interval. So it moved the update PIP window to a separate hook, which can be leveraged from both default layout and from lock point layout. But it's basically saying if we don't have an active session ID or an active focus timer, which means a break, then just escape out of the use effect. Because we're not in focus. Neat, that'll work. And in the use session manager, I think we're good here. Use timer interval, Webpart store. Fix moving into side panel and escaping from lock point layout and retaining accurate. I'm not gonna give it good because it does make a lot of mistakes. Let's see here. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. And some water. Right. What are we doing next? Oh yeah. Out of curiosity. I don't even want to do that. What I was gonna do is I was gonna tell it, let's get rid of elapsed seconds from the local cache, but it's just one variable. I don't really foresee that being such a big issue. And then we avoid any kind of calculation because we're literally keeping track of it in the local cache. So we won't have a problem where we have to calculate things. So let's leave that out of the picture. What else do we need to fix? Let's end the break early. I know that we need to fix the button borders or production. Let's work on that now. So I've been having a lot of issues with the borders on the buttons. Because if we go to the broad version of this, there's the broad version. Ooh, that's weird. Shouldn't be doing that either. Oh, it does it because I'm on the same browser, which obviously that's normal behavior. Yeah, you see the border? Kind of like red on managed tasks. And a lot of buttons for that matter. And I think the issue is with border, this right here. I want to say we probably want to do it this way. Same thing here. I think that can stay like that. Let's save all of these. Oh, come on. Okay. I think that would fix those errors or those color inconsistencies. Alright, so that takes care of that. The next thing I want to do is work on the task switcher. So in the use session manager, use session manager. It's down here. Sorry, I thought I heard my phone buzzing. Give me a second. No, never mind. Nothing important. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Alright, sorry. Just had to make sure my dog was okay. I thought I heard him whining. Okay, yeah, so use session manager on the switch to task. I need to change the order. So we're gonna do a new. Use session manager. What else do I need? Where's use session manager? Is that? Lock point layout. I don't know what am I doing wrong with this. Okay. To have the switching of the tasks the order, meaning if I select other task, I need it to swap order with the one switched with. Well, what should we do? Like say for instance we have 5 tasks, and I'm working on the first task, and I decide midway through that task to work on the third task. Do I want to switch the first one to be the third one and then make the third one the first one? Or do I move the third one to be the first one and make the one that I just removed to be the next one? In essence, if I'm on task number 1 and I select task number 3, task number 3 becomes task number 1. Task number 1 becomes task number 2, and then cascades the updates all the way down. I think I like the idea better of cascading rather than swapping their positions. So let's do that way. So in task home, we have a update task position. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. I need to have a switching the task to move. I need to have the switching of the task to move the order, meaning if I select another task, I need to swap orders with, not swap the order, but change order. For example, I need to stop getting used to this. For example, if I have 5 tasks and I am working on task number 1 and I decide to switch to task number 3, in the order I need to make number 3 move in order to number 1, and then move the current item in order 1 to 2 and push the other tasks down from there. Similar to how we update the task home items in the drag and drop for order changes. And then the relevant file for that is this task home. Oh, come on. Task home, and then the hook that it uses is use update task position. Let me use active task position. I think that should work. All right, so let's give that a shot. So use update task position, task home. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. The dog was going crazy. Somebody knocked at the door. All right, so task home. Did I already give it the task home? I did. And basically I'm trying to get it to use this, so the position update is part of the sort order. I'm not gonna give it that much detail. I think it's implied. So basically what's gonna happen is, look what happens here. So if I go on, right now I'm on this task. If I go to be right back. Sorry, so much noise, I apologize. All right, so yeah, so what I was saying is, if I go to task break right now, well, let me explain. So if I escape, you can see the task break is the first task, and then the next one is that. And right now I am on, oh, that's another bug. It shouldn't be using this one. Oh, well, this is gonna fix that bug anyway. Yeah, this is the way it should be seen. All right, so what happens is, this one, if I let's just stop the whole thing. All right, so if I go here, so you can see that I'm on test breaks. This is the first task, and then the next one is that one. Let's just say I switch them for the purposes of this demonstration of what I'm doing. So if I enter log point, I'm on the fix button borders, which is accurate. But then I go to test breaks. You notice that they switch, but the order doesn't change. And how do I know it doesn't change? Because if I go on break, and let's just say I stay on break for like the whole 5 minutes, the 5 minutes elapse, and I go to enter log point. I should have been on test breaks because that order should have switched, but because the order never switched, yeah, because the order never switched, it resets back to being on the previous task, and I'm trying to get rid of that. Should the sorter update for the session switch fires, or can we run it concurrently? Yeah, we would need it concurrently. You should be able to do something like a promise all and run them both concurrently. Plot is written up plan. Stop. Should sorter update fire before or after? Current plan has been fired concurrently. That already resolved. So that one we already answered. So we should be good with that. We should be good with that change. So it looks like it's done. Let's go reload. Okay, let's test it. So we're supposed to be on fix button. Correct. So now if I switch to task break, task break should now be at the top. Now let's say hypothetically I have run my focus timer all the way down. It's time to go on a break. I go on a break. When I come back from this break, it should be straight back to the task breaks task, because that now became my number one task, the first one in line, because that's what we were fixing. That's what we were changing. So fingers crossed that that is the fix. So now if we end the break, it didn't change it. Let's go look at what changes it made. Handle task switch. I'm curious though, if I switch to task break and I go and I click escape and I enter lock point, I go back to fix button, I escape, now it's working. So that part is working. Oh, I know what it is. So what is happening is, I don't think it's retaining the order. So right now it's on fix the borders. I'm going to switch to task break. Task break should now be order 1. Let's inspect and see that that happens. So this task break, order was 1. Good. Now, if I go on break, task break should be 1. Okay, so if I go on break, and now I look at welcome card and I look at tasks, which one's this one? Test breaks. And what is the order? 1. And then this one is, this is a problem. This one's still 0. And so logically, when I end the break, task breaks is going to be second. No? Okay, now I'm completely confused. Task order 0. Task order is 1. Okay, so if I enter log point, that is so bizarre. It's working now. Let me try this a different test. So if I switch to fix this and I stop it instead of going on break. Oh, it switched back because I was on fix button border. So if I play, I switch and I stop, you see that I'm switching back? That's a problem. I think I'll probably fix that and then I'll call it a day. Because I'm already streaming for an hour and a half. I usually only like stream for an hour. Give this personal project of mine like some advance. And so on, what happens on stop? That's something I need to figure out. So if we look at session manager, where's on stop session? Current task ID, end time, mutate session. Oh. So update task fields is this call, and then it uses a lightweight. So it's only updating the notes, the date completed, and the status, and the seconds. Why is it changing the order? Shouldn't be changing the order because no, I know what it is. So what's happening is whenever we use the update task fields inside of Session Manager, it's using the cached version of all tasks. And then what's happening is that all tasks is using the lightweight version and it's not updating the cache. And so what we need to do to fix this issue is to go into the change that it just made. Wait, it does update the task though. But wait, where's this all tasks coming from? All task is coming from. Oh, from the log point task that it receives the all tasks. And obviously that's problematic. So log point task list is receiving it as a prop. And that comes from log point layout. And then all tasks here is also wait, all tasks is here. Not receiving it, is it? Log point layout tasks. What are all tasks being used there? Today's complete. Okay, so that's using all tasks. Why am I passing in tasks into log point layout from the log point panel? Oh, where's this coming from? Use app tasks. Oh, that's so messy. Because if we look at log point layout in the log point panel, use app tasks is used in both. And of course, with them being two different hooks, that is just not good architecture at all. This is what I call spaghetti code. Thank you, AI. So it looks like there's quite a extensive mess with the tasks, and this is all like these two files. I know for sure I had AI help me, and I just need to go up and clean it. Because this is a problem. And that's what's causing the bug that we see, because these two distinct hooks is the moment we press stop, we have to remember that the tasks are being passed into the SWR cache. And because the old sort order from another hook that holds the tasks is still reflecting the old sort order, it's flipping it back. And that's the problem. But anyway, that's it for me today. I think that's what I'm gonna call it. Because this is what if I write ironic though is duplicated with default layouts called Y. And then not only that, I don't know why AI decided to put the hook here in the log point panel, which is a child of the log point layout. And I guarantee you, because it's saying here that it duplicated from the default layout, it's still probably there as well. Yep, there it is. That's why. When you have, I haven't really reviewed, and it's my fault. It's so easy, like when you're using AI to just not even think like about with the code base too much and just give it like prompt after prompt after prompt. But then when you start reviewing the code, you quickly realize just how out of hand that can get. And then before you know it, you think you're fixing problems, and the reality is other problems will creep up because AI doesn't necessarily bother. And even though I try to give it, like if you notice in my pattern, I try to always give it like context as much as possible. And I even ask it, if you need any additional files that you want to give it a quick glance, let me know. And even with that, it still makes mistakes. So I'm tempted to fix it right now. Just let me see what I can do. I mean, this is my suspicion that this is why it's happening. Default layout, lock point layout, lock point panel. All of these have all of these. And let's go to the hook so we can give it that context. Even though we are updating the task order, the moment I stop task session being I don't think that this is an issue. I'm starting to think that it might be, if we look at the task API on the update task, we have one here and we have a lightweight version of the update. Yeah, that's the problem. I just saw it. So in the function, the use update task position uses this update task position. And then in here, what's happening is that let me just double check this before I kind of have egg on my face. Let's say use update task position. It's only used in task home. Then why is lock point task list? It's using mutate tasks, update task sorter. It's using all tasks. Just something that's put in there. What is visible in no visible? Just completed tasks. Active tasks. Visible inactive tasks. And what's visible in active tasks? I think this might also be a problem. Visible inactive tasks. How is this being determined? By inactive tasks. So inactive tasks is using the array of active tasks, and active tasks is using just tasks. So there's the problem. The problem is that these tasks, this is what we consider the inactive tasks, because we don't have a task current. So if I push play on task breaks, this is considered my active task and this is considered an inactive task. And so what's happening is inactive tasks is using a memo field that only refreshes when tasks are updated. The problem is that whenever we switch the index and we reorder, we're using all tasks. So that's the problem. I mean, it's still an issue that we have all those use app task hooks everywhere, but the root cause of this specific issue is that it's just a glob of a mess having to use tasks and all tasks, because tasks, you see, I have two of them, tasks and all tasks, and I'm not sure why AI chose to do it that way. Because if we look at the log point layout, it receives tasks and all tasks from the parent, which is the log point task list. And if we look at the log point task list, where's log point layout? No, wait. Log point layout, no, log point task list, which is where we have, yeah, log point task list receives today's tasks and all tasks. So it should really be doing, it should not even be, why is it receiving all tasks in the log point layout? It makes no sense to me why it's doing that. So what do I want to do? I think I'm going to ask it to do a quick review. After further review, aside from the concern of having the hook instance used so many times, I noticed that in the switcher or the switch method, we are passing, geez, I can't type today. We are passing the all tasks array of tasks. And when I stop, I notice that it is using the inactive tasks array, which is memoized in line, where is it? I just had it. Lock point layout. Let's look up use memo. Here we go. Inactive. Is it in here maybe? Yeah, there we go. Inactive tasks. Line 137. So inactive tasks uses, wait, what? No, that's not it. Visible inactive tasks uses active tasks. Oh no, today's tasks uses tasks. Lock point task list uses active tasks, and inactive tasks uses this, which uses tasks. Okay, so this is what I'm at. It's line 126. 126. So I'm pressing all task array from the task, and when I stop and I notice that using not inactive tasks but active task array, which is memorized in line 126 of lock point task list. However, in the mutation, what are we using? We're using all tasks. be updated. Sort order won't stick. We need to do an in-depth analysis to figure out if we even need all tasks. Let's do an in-depth to work out this mess and to address not only the duplication of so many hooks, but also the need of the all tasks, because the reality lock point only works with today's tasks. The only pitfall I can think of is if all tasks is somehow used in side panel. One day I'm gonna get used to the Alt tab on this keyboard. And perhaps that is the reasoning why the what are other relevant files that we may be thinking about? I think I've already given it all the files in the context of this conversation. And I can see my misspelling. This CC SAS a result. Oh my gosh. It may make sense of what I'm typing, I'm sure. I think since that I asked it to do it like an in-depth, it's gonna take a while. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. I think tomorrow we can go ahead and address the rest and go from there. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.